if you want to fit something else in that you're not already currently doing, there is no option but to become the master of your schedule and the owner of your time. If you see it as something that is a skill that you can develop over time, you can get better at managing your time, you get more effective, then you're going to start asking questions and you're going to start poking around at it, hypothesizing, testing, seeing how you could manage it differently.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to this week's episode of Conquer the Day. I'm your host, Brian Pickowitz.
And I'm your co-host, Lindsay Pickowitz.
And today we are talking about how to get fit during a busy season. We're coming out of winter, which for a lot of people, winter is a season where they're getting everything set for the spring. Right? And so the spring is often this time for business owners or professionals where things are ramping up. And we don't want to just get healthy or stay in the basics of survival. We want to grow. We want to win. And today we're going to be teaching you some fundamental principles that will help you make this season one where you're able to hit your goals, you're able to accomplish the things that really matter most. And more importantly, you're able to be fit and healthy so you can take that and really have the lifestyle you want.
Yes. And if you don't know us, or this is your first podcast or time with us on the YouTube channel, I am Lindsay Pickowitz, and this is my husband, Brian. We are the head coaches and the co-founders of the Fitness Project. At the Fitness Project, we specialize in helping career professionals and business owners really make fitness a lifestyle. Because if you want long-lasting results and you want to perform at your best, then health and fitness has to be something that's woven in. It can't be something that you're just doing for a little bit of time and dropping weight, right? It has to become a part of who you are that helps you operate at your best. And that is exactly what we're talking about in this conversation. Because as you go into a busy season, as you start to feel things ramping up, a lot of times it feels like you're on that ramp in a roller coaster, right? You're like holding on for dear life. You can feel things kind of being shaky. And your question is probably, how on earth am I going to fit this all in? Somebody asked me that yesterday. How do I fit it in? How do I work out and take care of myself when I am doing so much right now, or I'm about to be doing so much? How is this all going to work?
Yeah, it's really this leveling up, though, that we have to start to see, right? Because if you're using Lindsay's example, you're hitting the top. What usually happens is once we shoot out of the cannon, once we're in that season, we're like, oh, I'm just going to get rid of my health. I'll take care of it later. Or we're in this season of struggle. Right? It becomes a struggle because we don't know how to balance everything out. And it doesn't have to be that way. The truth is you can thrive during a season of growth. And in fact, by thriving, by taking care of your health, by taking care of your body, by putting yourself in a peak state, you're actually going to do better. Mm-hmm. And so we understand, right? Spring comes around. Kids are busy. There's more activities. Business is usually picking up. We know that season of winter is usually where you're preparing. You know that spring
slower.
Comes up. A lot of our clients talk to them like, hey, the winter's usually that time where, business is a little bit slower, but if I get myself in order, spring usually goes well. So it's like, hey, how can we really step into this spring, step into this busy season and dominate? How can we win? How can we make it so that not only are we in survival mode, but we're in thriving zone? That's what we want to talk about.
Yep. So as we kick off, the first thing I would say before we get into, I guess, the mindset and then also the tactical ways to approach a busy season fitness-wise is congratulations. If you're in a ramp-up season, if you're in a growth season, heck yes, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. It is so much better to be in a ramping up season and to feel like, oh my goodness, I need to get ready. I am feeling this, than to be in a really slow season and super stressed because you don't know where your next client's going to come from, or you're not really sure how things are going to get better. So much better to be at the point that you're at right now than the alternative.
Yeah, and I think that, I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, I think that shows also a level of gratitude, right? Having that gratitude to say, okay, this is what I asked for. This is what I want.
Yes.
And this gives them the opportunity to make it how I want it, rather than feeling like it's happening to us.
Yep. And I know that at times it's really challenging because you do feel like you wake up and you get thrown into the ringer, right? You wake up and immediately you have 20 fires to put out, or you have emails waiting for you. And it can feel like a pressure cooker, right? But if you can find that little bit of gratitude and just remind yourself, okay, yes, this is what I asked for, then you're going to be able to receive what we're saying so much better. Because we're going to give you basically 4 kind of areas or steps, if you will, to help you get fit in this busy season so that you can have an increased likelihood of the odds of success.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but I'll let you kick off.
Well, it's really interesting. Before we dive in, we could teach you the tactics of fitness and here's how you're going to eat. Those things are going to be important in the future, but the first thing we have to do is we have to recalibrate and reestablish our goals. So the first thing to start with is we're in this season where things are picking up. That means that we have the opportunity to assess what's really important, right? Because just because things are picking up, just because we're advancing in our career, our business is growing, there's all these things going on, doesn't mean that we're automatically going to default to focusing on the essential, most important things. So this is a really great opportunity as you're going into that season to ask the question, what matters most? Mm-hmm. Because whatever we focus on, we're going to fuel. So if you're in a season where you're focusing on your health, you direct your energy that way. If you're focusing on your business's growth, you direct your energy that way. If you're in a season where you're focusing on your kids, that's where you're going to put your time into. That's where you're going to put your energy into. And so you have to think, really great quote that we had one of our mentors say is, time is emotion, right? Time is emotion, right? So there can be times where it's like, oh, time feels like it's dragging on. That's just a feeling, right? Time feels like it's limited. That's just a feeling. And so when we're in this season where things are ramping up, if we don't know what we're focusing on, we're going to get distracted. We're going to get dissuaded. So there's 3 core questions that you have to ask yourself right now that are going to dictate your focus. The first question is, what are the 3 to 5 business or career goals that matter most this quarter? And I just mean goals, I mean outcomes. What are the results? Is that bring on new team members? Is that hitting a certain profit goal? Is that how many people you want to have as customers? Is that a certain project that you know you have to get done? It's like, man, we have this big presentation coming up. It's so important. I'm at my peak. It's like, okay, that is your core result. Now, obviously, there's going to be other things that come in day to day, but those having a criteria for success with your 3 to 5 results create, let's say, the window for you to focus through. Mm-hmm. From there, we need to ask the question, how do I need to show up to achieve these goals? It's great that you set the target, but what is your emotional or mental state to accomplish those goals? Do you need confidence? Like, hey, I feel a little uncertain right now. I need more confidence. I need more courage. Maybe you need a little bit more relaxation, right? Because sometimes we get so stressed that actually causes us to sabotage ourselves. So maybe you're that person who's like, oh, I'm really high strung. Maybe I need to be a little bit more focused and easeful, right? So this is where self-awareness is going to be really important. Like, what state are you in when you are at your best? And then once we've established the core result, once we've established who we need to be, how we need to be, the energy we have to bring to that situation, we can ask the question, how does my health improve the odds of success? So how does me having more energy, me having more confidence, me having more strength, me taking care of myself well, improve the odds that I hit that target? Now, that doesn't mean you have to be shredded. Doesn't mean you have to be running marathons. None of those things really matter specifically. But if you ask, how does my health and my fitness impact these core areas? What I'm doing is I'm linking them. And if they're not linked together, then we see them as conflict. Mm-hmm. So if I don't see that taking care of my health improves my business, then I see it as something that's conflicting. If I don't see, let's say you put something down like, oh, it's really important that I'm present with my kids for whatever reason, right? Maybe it's not a business goal, but maybe it's a family goal. If you don't see that taking care of your health makes you a better parent or makes you a better lover or makes you a better partner, it's going to be conflict. And so we have to start to see that if our business is a value, if our family is a value, linking our health to it allows us to follow through.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was very well said. And it's not, you might hear that and say, well, it's not in conflict, but they're not linked. Yes, they are. If you're the owner or you're the manager or you're the person in charge or you're the leader of your family, then your health and energy and livelihood radically impacts those around you. It radically impacts your success. That is the truth. And until you allow that to be true for you, it will be very hard to get fit in that busy season because you'll see it as something that functions in a silo, as opposed to something that's essential that we need to figure out how to do and how to fit in a way that works for you. Once you know what you want, then we can move into the second stage of getting fit in a busy season, which is becoming an owner of your time. If you want to fit something else in that you're not already currently doing, there is no option but to become the master of your schedule and the owner of your time. I heard this last week and I thought it was so relevant to this conversation. Is this principle and this idea of being an owner versus a user. Now, if you are a user of a product, then you want to get the best out of the product, but you don't really care what happens to it after. You're kind of a little bit more reckless, a little bit more careless, as long as you kind of get something out of it, right? If you're the owner of that product and it is yours, and maybe even you are responsible for distributing it to others, you want that product to be its best. You want it to be its best for everyone that interacts with it, not just you. It becomes a much greater purpose or a greater meaning to that product. A lot of times we approach our time as if we're using time. Time is something that we can't control, and it runs our lives, and we don't have any more of it. And it's just so difficult to find the time for things. And we end up treating it like it's something that we're using rather than something that we own. We all do have the same amount of time, but if we own our time, then we're going to be trying to make it as effective as possible. We're going to be looking at that time and saying, all right, how can I absolutely make the most of these hours? How could I adjust what I'm doing? How can I adjust the way that I'm approaching my schedule, my time, my projects, my delegation? You think about it so differently when you are the owner of your time. And if you want to, again, get fit in a busy growth season, you're going to have to become the owner of your time if you don't already approach it that way. But what does that mean? The first thing is you got to see time management as a skill to develop. Because again, if you feel like you only have 24 hours in a day and the way you're managing it now is as good as it can possibly be, well, then you're stuck, right? Especially if you're like, well, I just don't have time to work out, or I don't have time to do these things. If you see it as something that is a skill that you can develop over time, you can get better at managing your time, you get more effective, then you're going to start asking questions and you're going to start poking around at it, hypothesizing, testing, seeing how you could manage it differently and see what the result might look like.
And you got to ask the question, when you think of this season of growth, did the way I managed time in the past serve me, does the way I managed time in the past serve me in this season?
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I advance it forward? Can I take what worked well and then stack something else on top of it? Because a new season means a new you, right? So if your business is growing, your career is going up, your kids have more things, it's like, okay, what got me here was really great, but now I'm going to stack a new skill on top of it. Just like if you learned how to shoot from the foul line, you might take a step back and then try to three-pointer, right? You're adding another layer to it.
Definitely. And one thing you can look at in lieu of time management and, okay, where do I start with that? How can I get better? Look at your routines and rituals around time management specifically. Like, do you have a calendar that's easy to update and change? Do you sit down on Sundays and look at your week? Do you plan a month in advance, a day in advance, a week in advance? Do you have any type of daily rituals around your calendar? How often do you look at it? How do you organize time blocks, right? How do you schedule time for yourself? You can start to just ask yourself and take inventory, because we have a whole time management training on this that we're going to give you for free just for listening to this podcast. That should help a lot. So I won't go into too much detail on how to build routines and rituals for time management, but start with taking inventory and then download that free training that will be in the show notes. If you really hear that and say, man, I want to become the master of my schedule, I want to own my time, grab that free training. But for now, take inventory on what your routines and rituals look like.
And if you're listening to this, you're saying, okay, how do I become the owner of my time? There's really 3 questions that every business owner or professional needs to ask themselves quarterly, or maybe even on a more frequent basis. And that is, how can I automate what I'm doing? How can I delegate what I'm doing? Or how can I eliminate the non-essential? And so in this season, you might want to look at certain things, certain behaviors, certain products, right? Certain, like, let's say, way you receive meals, way you receive certain health products, and ask, how can I automate this so it's easier? So maybe on Amazon, I can create a subscription, right? Maybe something like Instacart, where my orders are always in the same place. I can automate that pretty easily to know that the same foods are coming to my house consistently.
Specifically, as the example, we automate our protein powder delivery. So we get protein powder every month. We don't ever have to be like, oh, I'm getting to the end of this, I should probably pick some up next week. Like, that just doesn't even have to be a thought. It's automated.
And then obviously in your business, there's probably tasks that you're doing that you don't need to be doing, or that a piece of technology would do, that you can put in place and have it automate very easily. The second part of delegation is asking, what do I have to either ask for help with, or what are the, let's say, menial tasks or basic tasks that don't support the growth of the organization? And delegation is really key, because it's really asking for help. You're pulling people in, and a lot of times people want to help you. So if you look at it from a how do I get more time standpoint, delegation might be asking your partner to step in once in a while. It might be having someone come clean your house routinely. It might be having someone get the groceries, as I kind of already alluded to. But these delegation principles make it so easy for us to get some of our time back, right? And you can kind of think of this as a delegation too, because you're delegating your health to us, right? We're talking to you about this so you can kind of get it into your nervous system, get in your psychology. That next step might be, what are the things that I'm doing that I really don't need to be doing, that if I asked for help or I sent them to someone else, would give me more time back.
Yeah. And then if you're thinking through elimination, what do I need to eliminate from my schedule? This is a really a good gut check of a question. What do I need to eliminate that isn't serving me to get to my outcome? One of the things that we talk about a lot is alcohol. If you have a big growth season ahead of you, if you have to be on point and dialed in, alcohol is probably one of those things that you can, with confidence, eliminate from your life and get more energy, more mental clarity, more focus, and just improve your odds. Get that slight edge, because alcohol is always going to take away from your mental acuity, your energy, your focus, and your health. It's never going to add. At best, it will keep you stable. It will never make you better. And that's the truth. So you can choose to lean into that and say, yeah, I really don't need it. And this isn't about restriction. It's just about looking at the truth. Or you can look at it and say, well, here's my current consumption. I really don't need to be having 3 glasses of wine a night. I could probably incorporate that on special occasions this month only, and have a couple glasses when I go out with my friends or with my family for those special occasions. That alone would be a huge, huge change in how you feel every day in your health.
And the difference is, we're not looking at alcohol consumptions from a caloric standpoint solely, right? A lot of people are like, oh, how do I reduce the amount I'm drinking or what I'm drinking so I have less calories? It's like, that's useful to some extent when we talk about weight loss. But like Lindsay alluded to, it's really asking, does this serve my cognitive function? Is it going to help me sleep better? Am I going to perform at my best if I'm drinking? And if you're in a season of growth, it's really worth answering that honestly. Because if you're honest, the answer is going to be no. Right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I love to have a whiskey sour just like anyone else. Or maybe not anyone else, but personally, that's what I like. So you think, okay, well, maybe on my birthday that's worth celebrating with, or maybe if I'm going out to celebrate a wedding, I have a drink, but it's not something I need to bring into my daily life. And in fact, I will be better if I get rid of it. So that elimination might be alcohol. For a lot of business owners and professionals, alcohol is a constraint, so it's why we bring it up. And it's just being honest about it. But it also might be something else, right? Like, hey, maybe the candy needs to get out of the drawers. Maybe I need to stop putting so many sweets in the house. Maybe there's some other things, other behaviors that I keep engaging in that don't serve me.
Yeah, maybe it's like I need to delete or eliminate my social media apps from my phone throughout the day. Maybe I can check Facebook and Instagram or TikTok or whatever on my computer, but maybe I need to eliminate the apps from my phone because they keep me up at night, because they keep my mind too active, because they're too stimulating. They're not helping me, right? So this is just a good gut check question. Like, what do I need to eliminate that's really, truly not getting me closer to my outcome, not improving my odds? A really important question.
I'm going to tie it down with this too. Elimination might be setting boundaries. right? I think it's such an important conversation to have. Like, who are the people that you need to set boundaries with?
That's true.
What are the conversations you need to have?
Yeah, you don't need to eliminate people, but
Right.
boundaries are helpful.
So being able to look at it and say, like, hey, when I'm around this group of people, it doesn't bring the best out of me. It's like, okay, well, maybe I need to reduce that in this season, or maybe I need to have an honest conversation. These are all the things that actually keep us from getting healthy. It's not the workouts. It's not the, oh, well, what should my macros be? Yeah, that will come in time. But if you're not executing, or you're looking at the season and saying, oh, well, I need to stop working out, I need to not focus on my weight, it's like, that's probably not honest. That's probably not true. There's other constraints in our life and in our psychology that make it hard for us to commit. And so if we address the root, right, which is really what we're saying, address the root cause, address the root problem, getting healthy becomes very easy. Getting fit becomes very easy.
Now that we have identified our results and we have decided we need to become the owner of our time, we need to automate, we need to delegate, we need to eliminate, great. Now we can get healthy. Right? We've removed some of the gunk, some of the cobwebs, and we have a little bit more mental bandwidth, maybe a little bit more time too, to actually implement things that will get us healthier and get us in shape. So here we want to talk first about mastering the basics, i.e., focusing on the fundamentals. A lot of business owners and very high-level professionals specifically want to jump to optimal with their fitness before they master the basics. Jumping to the optimal looks like, okay, what's the best diet for me to drop weight fast? And how can I get my 5 days of working out in? It's like, whoa. Like, you don't need to jump to that to get fit and to get in shape. And quite frankly, if you jump to that, you're not going to be able to sustain it because you haven't mastered the basics, right? Again, that's like saying I want to shoot from the half court and make it every time when you haven't even mastered a layup, right? We need to master the basics, the fundamentals, and then we can extend our skills further.
Yeah, a great athlete is someone who's mastered the fundamentals. And you can think of yourself as an athlete in your business, an athlete in your life. Always working from the fundamentals, that's going to be the first principle, right? Because the fundamentals work.
They do.
I think of Tim Duncan, right? He played for the San Antonio Spurs. They called him Mr. Fundamentals because he knew how to move his body and shoot in such a way that was basic, but no one could stop him. And it's the same thing with anyone who's really great at their craft. If you master the fundamentals, you can always compound on it. And the wonderful thing about our health is it really doesn't have to be too difficult, right? So when we talk about mastering the fundamentals, in this season, it's, are you drinking enough water?
Yes.
Are you drinking 64 to 100 ounces of water a day, right? Obviously 64 being the minimum, but are you getting enough water for your brain to function, for your body to function, for you to feel healthy? Fun fact, when you notice your energy dip throughout the day, it's most likely the case that you're not hydrating. So if you notice, like, oh, I feel so groggy, I feel so lethargic, it's like, oh, have I drank any water? Use that as a cue to hydrate.
Second, are you sleeping for at least 7 hours of quality sleep? If you are not, it's going to be very difficult to have the energy to implement anything within your workouts or anything new. Sleep is essential to your recovery. It's essential to your stress management, to your mental clarity. And right now, I would dare to say that although you probably have a lot on your mind, and yes, your mind might be running at night, for a lot of people, and maybe for you too, it's just a lack of intentionality that leads to poor sleep, because we're on our phone until the very last minute. And we try to it's not that we try to push off tomorrow, but we tend to want to extend that relaxation time into 11 p.m., into midnight, when we know we have to get up at 6, right? Or we know we have to get up at 5:30, or that would be optimal. And then we hit the snooze 20 times and feel bad about it, right? So it's really just saying, okay, I need to make it my mission to sleep 7 hours and hydrate. Those are the first two basics that if you get down, you'll feel so much better automatically, and it will make it much easier to implement 3 and 4.
Well, and I'm going to pin this down too here, Linz. If you hydrate, your brain will function better. If you sleep, your brain will function better. So understanding that if your brain is functioning better, you solve problems more effectively.
Yes.
So that probably is going to take you less time. You're going to be working less hours, or you'll be able to get more done in the hours that you automatically give yourself. So imagine what that would feel like to actually get done the day and be like, man, crushed it. Yeah. Jinx. So those two principles are what we want to start with. And then third, we want to focus on eating whole foods. Now, ideally, I think a good spot for most people to focus on is starting with 3 healthy whole meals per day, right? So if we focus on, did I eat a good breakfast? Am I having a healthy lunch? Am I having a healthy dinner? That sets a great baseline. And again, to build off that, reducing snacks, optimizing for meals. Doesn't mean I always have to meal prep and be perfect, but I could wake up and cook, let's say, 2 eggs and have a half avocado with a little bit of greens. That took me 5 minutes to prepare. Very basic, very easy. I could go out to eat at a restaurant and have a healthy salad or just a healthy meal in general that doesn't have a lot of French fries or potato chips or whatever processed food might be the option. And then for dinner, either I'm going out or I'm preparing something very simple and easy for myself and my family. That is the baseline. And if you do that, you're going to have a very easy path to hitting your calorie goal, to hitting your protein goal, to getting your body what it needs.
Yeah. And those 3 things stacked, again, they are going to make it so your brain functions better, but then also you are going to be more calm. You're going to be less irritable. A lot of times you're irritable and you're frustrated and you're reactive, not because you're out of control and can't handle the amount of pressure on your plate, but just because you're not setting your body up for success. You're tired, you're not hydrated, you're hungry. And those simple human needs make a big difference if you actually fulfill them. Fourth part of the basics is if you're going to focus on exercise. If you're going to add in exercise, which of course we suggest and is healthy, 3 30-minute strength sessions per week is fantastic. That is basic. You do not need to work out every day. You do not need to break a sweat and do an hour of cardio every day. Everyone defaults to a 45 to 60-minute workout per day as their ideal. You don't need to do that. Master the basics of 3 30-minute strength training sessions a week, and you are going to, again, feel fantastic. And it's very doable to fit in even the busiest schedule.
And so those movements would be a leg day, a pull day, a push day, ideally. So we talk about legs. We did have a podcast. We did the basic movements that everyone should put in their training. But it's understanding, did I squat? Did I do something for my hamstrings? Did I work on my upper body push? Did I work on my upper body pull? Am I training my core? Those basic movement patterns allow us to progress really well, and they keep us in that healthy movement pattern, right? That movement of strength. Tying it down to, you can also have daily movement, right? Like maybe you're just, hey, I didn't work out today, but I'm going to do a 15-minute walk. That is a part of the fundamentals that we want to master. And if we're doing those all together, it's going to be very easy for us to lose weight, stay in shape, and get great results while we're going through the season.
Absolutely. And the last piece of all of this, if we're looking at how do you get fit in a growth season where everything feels like it is pushing upwards, it's pushing you, you have to push others, it's a lot. The last element of getting fit in a busy season is to recruit. You got to go out there and get support in your corner. If you feel like you are a lone wolf and you are just trying to work on yourself and pull everyone else up, you are going to feel maybe not necessarily lonely, but you'll get much more tired. Like you will fatigue very quickly if you feel like you are the only one who is at the top pulling everyone else up, working on your own goals. So recruit. Bring people into your space that will support you, that you can lean into, that you can share your goals with. If you feel like you don't know what to do with your fitness, hire a coach. Hire somebody who knows more than you, who can be your strategist, who can tell you, hey, here's what we have to do. Here are the simple things to focus on this week. Outsource what you can, but really recruit, pull people in your space that can help you and be in your corner. And you are going to feel like you again, instead of you pulling everybody else up, you have a boost from underneath you, which is really what you want for longevity with this season.
So we hope this is a helpful podcast as you're going into this season of growth. Again, it's not just about surviving through, it's about thriving through. It's about winning, right? We want to win, we want to set ourselves up to win, and we want to have that ripple effect because of the habits we've put in place. What's great about winning in this season is next season becomes even better, right? So if you win the Super Bowl this season, you set yourself up to win next season. We want to continue to compound and understanding that if we do great right now, it's just going to get better and better. So we'd love to hear in the comment section below, what's your big takeaway? What's the one thing that you're going to focus on more in this season? And if you're on Apple Podcasts, screenshot this, shout us out on your Instagram, and let us know your takeaway as well. But we hope this is helpful. Hope you're in a beautiful season, and we want to thank you for your time and attention. We do not take it lightly. And now go out and conquer your day.
Cheers.
Cheers.